Hello, internet friends. My name is Bay, and today on stream, there was a new update from Blizzard on the replacement for Warforging and Titanforge gear, the corruption mechanic. I talked about it in length, and I wanted to clip that and just slap that together in a quick YouTube video. And here it is, just right here. Just no waiting. Here, listen to me rant about it for the next blah. Uh-oh. We have corrupted items, details, and feedback going up. Okay. Let's crack over to this real fast, shall we? This is like hot off the press 14 minutes ago. This just came out. So let's do some reading here. All right. Most recent PTR build introduced an early version of our corrupted items system. We'd like to highlight a few aspects of how the corruption system works and our goals as we iterate on it. How corruption works. Items from Nyalotha, Mythic Keystone Dungeons in Season 4, BFA, PvP Season 4, the Heroic Darkshore Warfront, and other new sources of loot that are updated with Season 4 will not be able to Warforge or Titanforge. Hallelujah. Items from older content will retain an effective ceiling of item level 455 as they do today. So first off, thumbs up for the first point, but we'll see where the rest of it goes. All right, so Warforge and Titanforge is dusted. Oops. There will be a chance for these new items to be corrupted by N'Zoth. Let me get a little more background music going on here, a little less chiptunes. Let's go over here. Let's go back to the El Clasico. Damn it. A corrupted item has a powerful beneficial property, albeit some are very boring, similar to many of the benthic effects seen in Nazjatar, but has a new detrimental stat, corruption. Items can have a varying levels of corruption, with the amount of corruption present correlating directly with the power of the beneficial upside. For example, an item might give 4% critical strike damage and 10 corruption, or 6% critical strike damage and 15 corruption. Well, currently that's not how the PTR is working. Mike showed off 2% leech, and the corruption on the same 2% leech was different each time. So they need to lock this down so it actually is what this says. The stronger the kiss, the worse the curse, essentially, because right now that is not the case. The same kiss was seeing different levels of curse, which is obviously not ideal. Corruption represents the influence of N'Zoth, which will have negative effects on the wearer. As corruption increases, a series of drawbacks are activated. You might remember how corruption worked on the Cho'Gall encounter back in the Bastion of Twilight. That was a source of inspiration here. The drawbacks currently on the PTR are works in progress and not yet tuned, obviously. And we have changes already implemented in the next PTR build that we have not seen. Okay. Our general intent is for low corruption to activate a minor effect that most people can play around without too much difficulty. Medium levels of corruption to activate a couple more effects that have a higher skill cap and maybe more situational in where and when someone can handle having them active, and high levels of corruption to be prohibitive and virtually never worth it. Sure. Gear that makes your character worse when you equip it doesn't sound terribly appealing, but fortunately, there will be ways of dealing with corruption. The legendary cloak that players will earn from Wrathion early on in the Visions of N'Zoth will negate some corruption, and can be upgraded through entering and completing horrific visions to provide even more of a bulwark against the corruption stat. Early on, we expect players might wear 1 or maybe 2 pieces of corrupted gear at a time. Later on, 3 or 4 pieces might be manageable. The vast majority of the gear players wear, even later on, will not be corrupted. And these perks aren't planned to be slot restricted, so if there's a specific power you want, there should never be a concern that your item needs to roll with that affix to be useful. Okay, so all the different kisses can be on any piece. We also never want an item that would otherwise be an upgrade to feel unusable as a result of being corrupted. So any corrupted items can be taken to the Heartforge and purified without restriction. If you get that trinket you're hoping for, but it's corrupted with a beneficial effect you don't like, or wearing it would push you above a corruption threshold you're comfortable with, I guess you're not comfortable with, just purify the item and carry on. Well, not necessarily a waste, Zeb, because like you just said, I mean, listen to what this says. We never want an item that would otherwise be an upgrade to feel unusable as a result of being corrupted. So any corrupted items that can be taken, they can be taken to the Heartforge and purified without restriction. If you get that trinket you've been hoping for, but it's corrupted with a beneficial effect you don't like, Ollie in the min-max community, you don't need. You're a balanced druid and it rolls versatility from gear. You do not want, need, nor care about the versatility bonus from gear in this example, but you want to use that trinket. You cleanse it, still gain the trinket bonus that upgrading your trinket to the new one would be, and you don't get the versatility plus 2% garbage you do not need. It's still, this is a fine adjustment. It's obviously still RNG on RNG, sure. But this still means that if you get a piece of gear that you actually need the overall benefit from, sorry, I'm on my mount, this is kind of annoying in the background, then you can just remove the negative and keep the entire gear yourself that is still an upgrade. Apparently there's no random gem slockets either, Siege, or at least we haven't seen them yet. There's more to this, Zeb. There's obviously positives and negatives. The biggest positive is that items aren't going to have eye-level roll randomness garbage anymore. That's still a huge positive for me. All removing the corruption does is remove the corrupted stat and removes the green equip text, apparently. So itemization philosophy. With itemization, we're always looking for opportunities to create moments of excitement and choices and options to customize your gameplay that suits your playstyle and other content you choose to play. Warforging created some of this by allowing useful rewards to come from a wide range of content and ensuring that there was almost always at least the chance of an upgrade from any repeat boss kill or other source of loot. Caveat, a lot of players don't give a shit about RNG loot. However, as we've seen and heard clearly in the feedback over the past years... Oh, but Blizzard doesn't listen to feedback, though. They never pay attention to the community. They do, it just takes them a very long time. So we're finally at that point, all right? We've finally, after 4-5 freaking years, they've listened. Sure. It also brought significant downside. Progression feels less rewarding, as players killing a raid boss on a new difficulty for the first time often disenchant much of the loot because they had equal or better Warforged items from lower difficulties or other sources. In addition, the feeling that a given item could have Warforged more and been even better can leave a sense of disappointment that should have been a clear reward moment. And the sense that these systems are out of players' direct control makes it harder to work towards a clear goal or state of completion. Thank Raptor Jesus. The corruption system isn't a permanent addition to World of Warcraft, but it's an extension of the theme of N'Zoth's pervasive and growing influence over Azeroth. As we explore this over the course of the PTR, we'd love to hear your feedback about the initial round of powers showing up on items, corruption drawbacks that may be excessively punitive, and the system as a whole. Please feel free to write a comment, blah, 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 or comment, feedback, it's fine. I mean, I think the overall, and after listening to Mike's Mike just posted a video about this like today, and then we get this post here. I think there is a lot of positives here that outweigh the negatives. We don't know yet about avoidance and speed rolls or whatever, right? We don't know about those yet. We don't know about random socket rolls yet. We don't know about sockets yet. We have not seen enough information about how these sockets work if random sockets still exist, which then begs the question, are jewel crafters dead? But the big thing here is that randomly rolling items and eye level is now gone currently as of patch 8.3. Additionally, confirming that this is not a permanent addition to World of Warcraft, which I hope the Warforge and Titanforge being removed from the game as this first step removes that from the game completely. But if they want to do some themed item-oriented system like they do with like the theming of each season with Mythic Plus or whatever, but across the entire PvE spectrum, and I guess PvP spectrum, that's kind of neat. It just depends on how this moves forward. But the biggest thing to take away from this is that eye level is eye level. The underlying text, of course, in here is that, yes, getting these extra bonuses, these Kiss Curse things here, is still technically a Warforge or a Titanforge. Sure. I still think that the system that this is working towards, over the course of the expansion, you will gain more and more anti-corruption or corruption resistance or ways to counteract the corruption on your character, allowing you to awkwardly store up more corrupted gear. Why is my character standing up and sitting down? Just chill out, my dude. You'll be able to bank and hold on to pieces, potentially, that may become useful to you later, but are not useful to you now, which is kind of awkward, but so be it. But however, if it is not a big deal and you need the upgrades to begin with, and you can just get pieces later on farm, I guess that's fine. You'll be able to just remove it firsthand. It just depends on how prevailing the winds are on the pieces that it's rolling on. Corrupted gear cannot be Azerite gear. Obviously, it won't be on your neck, because duh. It won't be on your cloak, because duh. So it's on every other piece of gear that we have seen so far. So only so many slots can even roll with corruption on it in the first place. I still think that it's a step in the right direction. They're trying to make loot fun and the loot game interesting, because they are trying to create these moments of intrigue, right? Moments of excitement and choices and options to customize your gameplay to suit your playstyle and the content you choose to play, right? I get that. They're trying to make it so it's not flat, although I still 100% think that they don't need to do this, and they can just make, I would say, more scarce items and not have so many items that fill the loot pool across the board, potentially, because I don't think there is any need to have loot not just be loot. But at least in this system, eye level will now be the eye level you have earned. The highest eye level rewards come from the most difficult content again, which is a huge plus, because if you're not doing mythic raids or not doing high mythic plus keystones, maybe it's the elitist in me, but I do not think you have earned the right to get the loot that I and 19 other people have put in the blood, sweat, tears, time, and grind to get. You just don't get it, period. There's no point in you getting it if you're not doing the content that is relevant to you, that needs anything higher than the rewards relevant to you in that tier. That's just my overall hot take. I've been saying this for a very long time. I'm okay with eye level being eye level. You earn what you earn. You're rewarded with what you have accomplished. That's how these games should work. Maybe that's a little bit too specific, maybe a little bit too tight, but that's how I feel. It's a minor upgrade with a drawback instead of just a bullshit 20 eye level increase. Sure. And that's fine, Zeb. If an item rolls 6% crit modifier, then that's really good. You're going to have your abilities to turn down your corruption on your character and balance that with some RPG mechanical stuff through gameplay or the slow roll of the anti-corruption system as the patch moves forward towards the end of the expansion, where you'll be able to wear, as they said here, early on, we expect players will wear 1 or 2 pieces of corrupted gear at a time. Later on, 3 or 4 pieces might be manageable. So this is a soft nerf, which I totally agree with what Mike said in his video as well. This is essentially a built-in gameplay mechanic slow roll nerf over the course of the last patch of this game. And at first, you will essentially wear your best Kiss Curse piece of corrupted gear that may or may not roll that extra crit stat from gear or additional crit damage modifier or whatever that is a really good portion for you. Overall upgrades of eye level should hopefully still be upgrades over eye level. We might have a bit of a growing pains period at first where eye level won't be as big of a deal because we have all the sockets we have on gear. We'll have to figure that out. But this is still a slow roll upgrade over the course of the expansion. The weird part that I think about this is saving gear. Say if I get, you know, mythic legs or whatever that are 480 eye level right off the bat, and they're a huge eye level upgrade, okay? And then, but they have a Kiss Curse on them that I can manage, then I can manage that one. If it's like plus 11, and I've got the minus 10 from the essence I slot into the minor slot, the third minor slot, then I only have 1 corruption. I have the movement speed snare, big deal. But then if I get a ring that has the crit damage modifier or something like that's really good, the question then becomes, is that piece more beneficial than wearing the pants? But if the pants have like bonus versatility from gear, obviously the crit damage modifier would be more highly valuable, so I would swap those pieces. And eventually, once I have the essence upgraded, the cloak upgraded, or whatever other subsystem of slow rolling your corruption and anti-corruption works, then I'll be able to put back on the pants. So it means you still gotta bag a bunch of gear potentially and just store up things, but that's what we're doing right now. So not to be dismissive, we store up other pieces of gear to swap in at different times or different situations right now anyway, so how is that any different? I'm not saying that's the solution, or I'm not saying that that's the only way you should be doing things, but we do it and have been doing it for a very long time now, so that's not changing anything. It would feel weird to obviously have a huge eye level upgrade piece that you can't wear because of the corruption. That's the sticky situation that I'm not entirely okay with, where like I want to put on this ring, but I obviously don't want to go to 38 corruption. I want to stay below 20 or whatever. So I just can't wear that other piece, or I have to figure out which pieces and which combinations are the better ones to wear at first. Or if it's better for progression right now and the eye level upgrade and the gear increase is more important for me right now, then I cleanse the corruption of that, the weakest of the kiss pieces to wear the stronger of them to build my character out forward. But all the while, my eye level on my character is the eye level that is dropped that I have done the content to earn. Versus crap, like, it does kind of make dungeon trinkets, they might die, because you're not going to see, unless they scale up dungeons all the way to like 15s after the new season starts, or something to keep them competitive. But you're not going to get this trinket that rolled up 30 times or whatever this rolled up when I got it, right? But you're not going to see this anymore. This lustrous golden plumage of plus a whole lot of levels won't exist. So there are pros and cons to this system. I think the biggest pro is that hopefully they learn that random rolled eye level is no buenos dias, because that is not fun. Let me catch up with chat again for real quick. Yeah, if we get to wear more and more corrupted items as the weeks go on, that is the idea that is being presented to us. It'll make people hoard gear saying I can use it later, just let me level my neck more. Also, kind of sure, that's again the whole thing about scaling through the patch. Yeah. RNG gear that's interesting is better than RNG gear that's boring. That's an argumentative point, but I'm not against it. I can deal with the same boots I have plus 3% crit, as opposed to the new gear from this boss we just beat is lower eye level than my current gear, to be honest. Again, eye level would be eye level. That situation will never happen again. Also, it might make trading gear way easier. Many of you out there right now have experienced this whole dumb crap where you get the trinket you already have, but it's plus 5 more eye levels. I'm looking at you, Ink Pod. You get this stupid ink pod, but like I didn't have one for so long, and our hunter got one that was only plus 5 eye levels, but because it's an eye level upgrade over his other overall trinkets, he could not trade it, meaning that he got a very infinitesimally tiny upgrade, but I would have had a much larger upgrade over the course of the entire raid with it, but I did not get it because he could not trade it. That will go away, because if you get a trinket that's the same eye level and you already had one, then you can trade it because it won't roll up. I'm imagining the corruption mechanic roll would not matter. And again, if the corruption stat on it is poo-poo pants and no one really can use it, then you can just cleanse the item and be done with it, because the overall upgrade from the item itself would still be an upgrade for you and your raid group as a whole. I think the initial push for rating will be that you will just remove corruption on a bunch of items because you do not need it and doesn't matter for the initial push of the game, and will hopefully be balanced in a way that it is a slow nerf to the content as you farm and move forward in the patch. Again, there are still negatives with this system, but I think the overall is that there are far more positives that I am gleaming from this. Let me keep hearing up chat. The drawback would F me in progression fight that I don't care and I'm cleansing it. Well, yeah, that's why you could just remove them. Minimal corruption slows you, for example. Mid corruption drops a fart puddle that damages you. Currently, they're not done yet. Yeah. You're going to end up with a situation where lower eye level pieces with corruption could potentially be better than your mythic loot with lower corruption roll. It's literally the same thing, just without the eye level inflation. That's very possibly the case. That still exists, but that's no different than the eye level problem. But again, the previous things I mentioned about how the eye level being eye level allows you to at least make more maybe in flatly informed decisions. And again, the trading economy could also be a huge healthy bump from this, because right now that is toxic as heck. But you're totally right. You could get upgrades from Heroic that rolled, 5% critical strike damage on boots again, right? So you get another crit damage boot modifier thing. And then sure, that could be better than the mythic piece, which then means that if you ever do get the mythic piece, you have either some math to figure out, or that then gives you that socket or that slot of gear scanned at that highest eye level. So if you ever get anything else in that slot, you can just trade it away, because you already have a better upgrade from the previous tier. And that's kind of okay, I guess, but sure. And that all just depends. Again, you have to remember that loot is your loot in this game now. There isn't a... with the whole personal loot being a thing now, loot is your loot. It's not your guild's or your group's loot anymore, which I still don't know if I don't necessarily agree with. But that is how Blizzard has gamed the loot system and how they have made it a thing, I guess. As an LFR hero, I should get the same or better eye level gear as you. Scrappy, just get banned. Just what the heck? Get rid of the stupid can't trade a downgrade because it's eye level. It's true. They cannot remove trade restrictions entirely, I don't think, because that would just bring back split runs and loot funneling back into the game, which you still kind of do, but at the same time, you don't necessarily do. But yeah. Trying to farm mythic raids more. This tier we only cleared once, and we went on full Ajara prog after one Zakul kill. I mean, I progressed her with 455 legs from her on heroic. Yeah, it happens. Oh, Scrappy got banned. Beautiful. No more having high level loot from a mythic boss from heroic forges. That's true. That'll be gone. So mythic plus during far will be gone with this capped heroic raid. What do you mean? Mythic plus dungeon farming will be gone with this capped heroic raid. Well, we don't know how we don't know where the eye level for mythic plus will go. We don't know where eye level where mythic plus will go. We'll see. They should have just gotten rid of Titanforging entirely and given bosses a chance to drop tokens that you can use to upgrade your items, mop style items with max number of upgrades that you can choose where the upgrade goes, so it's not random. Yes and no. I mean, I'm not against that system, but obviously Blizzard wants to have some form of the game have just something neat. They want to keep trying something neat, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. What would be my ideal gearing system? Just loot being loot with nothing random, and possibly less loot, so there's not so many parodies of items in every single slot, but we'll see. In mythic raids, the encounters are difficult, but you effectively have infinite number of tries as long as you're willing to put the time in. In mythic plus, if you screw up, the key is blown and you're done. What does that mean? Completing the run still gets you loot, though. Like, even if you blow the key time-wise, you still get loot when you finish the dungeon. In a raid, unless you kill the boss, you get nothing. They should allow cleansing on the spot instead of running back to the forge. I don't know about that, Manny. They have to allow you to do it at a hub somewhere. It'll probably be cleansed by Mother or Rathion or something. It might help Mythic Raider EPs, but it's going to hurt casual player retention a bit. I disagree. Casual player retention isn't being retained by random RNG eye-level loot. It's normally maintained by a whole slew of content that normally like the high-end Mythic Raiders don't do. Achievement hunting, transmog farming, mount hunting, pet battles, collections, leveling multiple characters, other things of that nature that a lot of high-end people don't care about or don't do. I'm sure many of them do still, but normally the min-maxing endgame community doesn't focus on those things. At least nowhere near at first. A 10 chest is only 5 eye levels behind Mythic gear. Right now it is. We don't know if it'll be in parity. We don't know what they're going to do with Mythic Plus, yeah. Mythic Plus you can run every single second. You can't do that with rating. Well, you need obviously U+4, but sure. Hello, Jadarix. My idea would be a +10 gives Mythic piece, and your first 15 a week gives 1 piece of Mythic loot. I don't know, Kyle. I think they're still going to leave the higher eye level on the... They're still going to leave the highest eye level pieces from your Mythic weekly cache, I would imagine. Hi, Minion. They should lower the 10 chest reward and just make the eye level scale equivalent for actual Mythic Plus drops. Take the cap off of weekly rewards. Make sure the difficulty is tuned to be equivalent to Mythic rating. We might see the Mythic Plus meta go all the way up to 15 scaling and be on parity with Mythic raids potentially, but we'll see. They did that in Legion, didn't they? Where the eye level scaled at first to a certain key and then it went all the way up to 15s at the end. So we still don't know yet. The gear screen is epic. What add-on is that? This is called Narcissus. Final dab. Did you get your fishy kill? We removed it yesterday. Your face hasn't moved yet. Are you a ventriloquist? Yes. Yes. Nice Sauron helm. Thanks. All right, I think we're caught up for the most part. If I get 2 crit damage boots and can use them without going over a threshold, I don't feel okay with then... What, Destora? If I get 2 crit damage boots and I can use them without going over a threshold, I don't feel okay with then I would use them. Maybe I'm reading that wrong. Do positive rolls stack? Like if I have multiple crit damage slots, they stack? I would assume they would stack, yes. Each individual plus kiss would stack, I would assume. They wouldn't be only one thing. Personal loot in a full guild run is still really bad. Yeah, I agree with that. The new system is literally just a convoluted version of what we have now, with the power shifted out of the eye level into corruption effects. It's still Titanforging, just more confusing. I mean, I'll have to see it in action, but I don't think it's more confusing. I don't think it's that much more confusing. I think there are still going to be problems with it, though, I'd imagine. It's funny how Blizzard said they wanted to make the gearing more straightforward with being able to tell at a glance whether something's an upgrade. Then they add these corruption things that you have to sim again. It's literally the exact same thing we have now. To some degree, yes. But now, at least eye level flatness will not be a awkward factor in trying to figure your math out. Because certain specs and classes, you're going to know what modifier is better for you. Or at least it'll be a lot maybe simpler to figure out, but we'll see. We'll see it in practice. We'll see it in practice. The system is so much simpler than now. I think it's simpler. I wouldn't say it's so much simpler. How about this? They give us a legendary raid that can upgrade killing the final raid boss of the raid. We do it weekly in fear of falling behind. Oh, yikes. Yeah, let's not do that again. I have a theory that once you kill N'Zoth, the gear will become cleansed of corruption, but you keep the kisses. I don't know about that, Scrappy. We don't know about that yet. The corruption mechanic is a slow nerf roll system. Casual players will come and go with Fortnite updates. Stop worrying about the people who leave when they pass gas. Oh, no. I don't know. Oh, is Mia trying to stop me from ranting? All right. Well, you know, fine then. All right, fine then. Clear this chat. F it. All right. All right. Fine, Mia. Fine.